What's up guys, and welcome back to some more Pokemon Sun and Moon coverage, and today we have the third video covering Alchemy Theory. Yes, keeps on building up with more stuff we get, so I'm going to be sort of going quickly over what we've done previously and then building on it thanks to sort of new reveals and stuff like that you'll see as we get on. So first up, the main thing we're looking at today are the elements. So we saw previously there are four sort of basic elements in alchemy, which are earth, water, air and fire. Now one of these sort of elements was spotted in a previous, it was the first original reveal trailer, and this was behind Lunala and Solgaleo as well possibly. You just couldn't see it behind Solgaleo, but you see behind Lunala up on this temple here, and obviously we looked at the Alola map when this first was given to us, and we saw, wait, the temple was likely on the far left island because of this big spire, so that's the earth icon with this temple. Maybe this is the earth temple, and maybe four elements, four islands, and we made the connection there. What we did previously was match the three remaining elements to these islands. We put the fire island on the top right, the fire element on the top right island because of the volcanoes there, and then we the last two were a bit sort of wishy-washy because there was no immediate connection. The starting island has a waterfall in the background, so we thought maybe that's the water island, and maybe the bottom right island is the air island because it has a nice tall mountain, but of course that was nothing set in stone. We were just sort of throwing ideas around at that point. So that's what we did last time, in Alchemy V2 and as well as V1. So now we have, obviously, Tapu Koko is revealed as an electric fairy type, and we're expecting 3 more guardians similar to Tapu Koko, not exactly the same obviously, because we're expecting some sort of resemblance, but nothing. It's not exactly the same. Just for placeholders for today, I'm gonna give you these 3, which are just placeholders for the other 3. For we were talking about in my Hawaiian Gods of Alola video, talking about what typings we might see for the other guardians, since we have electric fairy for Tapu Koko, and we came to the consensus almost that the other 3 are going to be based around grass, fire and water. In terms of what typing they will actually be, whether they be grass fairy, fire fairy and water fairy respectively, or they could be, for example, grass ground, fire flying and water ghost, as I suggested. We don't know quite at the moment, but we assume that fire, grass and water are going to be based on it. So I've got these 3 extra Tapu Kokos here, all coloured in different ways, green for grass, red for fire and blue for water. Hopefully you guys just it's a nice visual aid rather than having silhouettes or whatever for other Pokemon there, but we figured it out in the Hawaiian Gods of Alola video the other day. So then we have 4 guardians, 4 islands, 4 elements, 4 typings as well. Why don't we try and match these up? So we have obviously earth, water, air and fire, along with electric, grass, fire and water. Well, can we match these up very well? Well, obviously fire and water are a common theme across them both, so we can easily match those up with water, the typing water being matched with the water element, and fire matching with the fire element. However, now we have earth and air left over, and electric and grass on their own. Now, if you want to match 2 typings to earth and air, generally, you would choose probably ground and flying, because, that's the easiest connection there. But we can still match these 2 remaining typings up. The thing we can do is we can give grass with earth and electric with air. Why? Well, mainly grass involves things growing out of the ground, living things, which relates to the earth there, and the electric, we're thinking of think of visual images like Thor, the god of lightning. Lightning obviously comes from the sky. Air, sky, it's similar. It's not a a solid connection, but it is similar. There's also the fact that we are expecting these 4 guardians to form a totem pole in their encased forms, Tapu Koko and then the other 3 all stacking on top of each other to form a totem pole. Obviously, with totem poles you have many different types of animals on them. Some will have just a single animal, but most totem poles will stack different animal heads on top of them, and each of those has a different meaning, as I researched online slightly. Now Tapu Koko, I believe, is based, its totem pole form is based most likely off of a hawk. There are several different birds that crop up with totem poles, like hummingbirds and such, but hawk seems to fit it best, especially with its beak. I thought that was the best fit there. But for the other 3 elements, earth, fire and water, what sort of animals could we see there? Well, earth, I went through a list of common ones and picked out ones that made sense. For earth, I chose a wolf. there wasn't too much sort of selection there, but really any animal could go for the earth in a certain way because we all live on the earth, all animals live on the earth. Fire, there was a bear. I thought that would make work fairly well, but water arguably has the most selection. We have frog, dolphin, whale, shark, all different options that are commonly seen on totem poles. But what I'm trying to give here is, yes, there are a few birds you generally find on totem poles, and since Tapu Koko is based off of a bird, unless we're going to say all 4 guardians are going to have bird-like features, arguably Tapu Koko is going to be the most bird-like, so it would relate to air the easiest basically. So why are we making this video in the first place? What's the main driving force behind it? Well, in the English reveal trailer for Tapu Koko and the 6 other new Pokemon, before Tapu Koko's ability Electric Surge layers the battle with electric terrain, we get to see the inside of this temple here. And if you can spot it, on the back right wall behind Tapu Koko, on this in front of this doorway, you can see a symbol there. What symbol is that? It is the water symbol, indicating that you're in the water temple. As we sort of speculated, there'd be a temple for each type on each island, for example. So maybe Tapu Koko is in the water temple, but we just said it was the air sort of element guy. Why are we in the water temple when we're battling it? Well, take a look at the levels here quickly. We have Litten at level 60 and Tapu Koko at level 60. Pokemon aren't, legendary Pokemon aren't generally found at level 60 in the games. You generally have like level 45, 50 or 70. We've never really had any level 60s that I can remember. And obviously, Litten is level 60. Why would you have a Litten at level 60 instead of a fully evolved Litten? Obviously this is because that Pokemon hasn't been revealed yet, so there will be no reason to, but it looks like this battle is possibly set up for the trailer, as in they just leveled up, maybe even just forced the encounter with Tapu Koko, for example, in the water temple. Or Tapu Koko could be the water Pokemon. It's a bit iffy here, because obviously it doesn't really match up as easily. Either this is a stage battle for the trailer, so that the area doesn't actually matter at all, or Tapu Koko could be found in the water temple for some reason, and the water temple could feature on the first island, as we were talking about in the first place. So this is what we had. Previously we had the Earth Temple with Lunala's temple on that island, and we were thinking about water temple on this island. And it would make sense since Tapu Koko is the guardian of the first island, but would we really see Tapu Koko at level 60? Maybe it's like just a short post-game section where you go around and you can catch all the guardians now. Obviously you won't be able to get the guardians in the main story, I wouldn't think at least. You'll be able to get Solgaleo or Lunala, but not the guardians. They'll likely be after game legendaries, much similar to Moltres, Zapdos and Articuno. But possibly it makes sense there, or we could switch the air and water temples and see it like this, with not necessarily Tapu Koko being found on that island there, but the temple in the area being there. We really don't know. As I mentioned earlier, the air and the water symbols can sort of be switched between these two islands because there's no strong indication. The only indication possibly is on the largest island. You have this ritual area down at the left base of the mountain, which could possibly surrounded by water, so it could be the entrance to the water temple there, and that might make some sense. But then again, why is Tapu Koko there? Maybe that's just a forced battle. We don't really know yet. But that's that. Going over what we have and linking everything up, we have the 4 elements: earth, water, air and fire. Then we have the 4 types for each guardian: grass, water, electric and fire. Now also in the Hawaiian gods of Alola I was talking about, the 4 sort of great gods of Hawaii, and we have Lono, Kanaloa, Ku and Kane, and these 4 are linked up to these types as we talked about in that video. Lono being related to agriculture and fertility, most likely is going to be the grass type guardian. Kanaloa often being resembled by an octopus, water type guardian. Ku we know is the basis for Tapu Koko, mainly because of its design. There are sort of pictures out there of a bird like Ku, electric there. And then finally we have Kane, being the one related to the greatest one, and also being related to the dawn, the sun and the sky, possibly being a fire type there. As well as this, we can link these up to the 4 islands. Obviously each island most likely will have a colour name, I'm gonna say. We know that the starting island is called Mele Mele, and Mele Mele in Hawaiian translates to yellow, so it's the yellow island basically. So if we were to say, okay, well, electric, yellow makes sense there, let's link up the other 3. We have grass, water and fire being green, blue and red. So grass in Hawaiian is Oma Oma, which would make this island be the Oma Oma Island. Fire, red in Hawaiian is Ula Ula, meaning that island would possibly be called the Ula Ula Island. And the last island we have, the blue island basically. Now blue isn't as sort of good. It translates into Hawaiian as Polu on its own, so possibly if they were to keep the theme going, they could call this island the Polu Polu Island. Now whether this, which Mele Mele is which island, we know which island Mele Mele is. It's yellow, electric related to air, which is again, leaning towards the idea that Tapu Koko will be based on this island. It's the air type, whatever, because you can't really put the water element with electric and the air element with water. That wouldn't really make sense. So it leans towards just a forced battle for that image we saw earlier. But right now we don't know. There's one final thing to look at before we finish today's alchemy theory, and that is this. Basically, this is showing a sort of, I'd say, a graph of sorts of basically, you see here the Prima Materia. Prima Materia is like the start, the beginning, the start, everything in the world almost, if you guys understand what I mean there. But you can see here at the bottom of the diagram we have the 3 fundamental principles of alchemy, as we talked about in the very first alchemy theory: salt, mercury and sulfur. And as we talked about there, we have rowlet, poplio and litten, each resembling one of those, salt being rowlet, sulfur being litten and mercury being poplio. Now the elements can actually combine to make these 3 fundamental principles, and we have obviously earth, water, air, fire. So if we throw down our guardians there, we have those. Now at the top you can see here we have celestial salt and celestial niter, with fixed and volatile are just the 2 types of elements. Celestial salt and celestial niter are also known by different names as solar fire and lunar water. Solar fire representing light and material, and it's symbolised of course by the sun, and lunar water resembling darkness and spirit, and it's symbolised by the moon. What are we going to put there? Solgaleo and Lunala. So we've fixed, we've put on all here. The only thing left is Prima Materia. Well, of course, we could say, oh yeah, there'll be a, this could be Marshallow right at the top here, being sort of the trio leader and the leader of the whole of the Alola region. Possible. Or Prima Materia being everything in the world. Could just be, saying everything, there doesn't have to be a necessarily legendary for it. Or of course it could relate to Zygarde, if Zygarde turns out to be the trio member of both, Zygarde and both Xerneas and Yveltal, as well as Solgaleo and Lunala. But obviously that's just a theory on its own out there. But that is going to be it for the second, or the third actually, introduction installment of Alchemy Theory. Let me know what you think about this down below. Which island is going to be which element? Do you think Tapu Koko is the air element, or is it going to possibly relate to the water element, since it appears in the water temple in the new trailer? And let me know what you think about the final graph and what this means. Will there be an overarching legendary for everything here, or is it just going to be everything in the world? Let me know what you think down below. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.